Well, good morning, ladies. I hope you are doing well this morning. My name is Glenn Price. I'm one of the owners of Keystone Financial Resources, and I'm excited about being here with you this morning. I'm actually doing this one from my home. Again, I'm excited about the information that we've got to talk about today. As you know, this has been a series of webinars that Jonathan and I started. Our heart and goal is to teach and empower women not only how to take control of their finances, because it's something that's so important that you do, but also how it's just imperative that you have a well-constructed, well-written financial plan that is specific to you. Because here's the deal: you're unique, and when God made us, He gave us a fingerprint, and no one shares it. And so at Keystone, Jonathan and I and our whole team, we just think that your financial plan is really like that, or should be like that, meaning that it's designed for you, specifically for you, to meet your goals and objectives with what's important to you. And I can tell you, I've been doing this for over 20 years now. Jonathan's been doing it over 20, and we've been together, he and I, as partners for over a decade now. And something that is absolutely true, and that is we see hundreds of families when they come in. And when one of the things that we see is that, anyway, over the years, as we've built these financial plans, this is what's true, is that there's no two plans that we've built for families, for women and families, for, again, for years we've done this, where those plans are exactly the same. They're just not, because each one of you is unique and each one of you is different. But here's what's also true, is that when we sit down with ladies or even families, many times we'll ask them, hey, do you have a financial plan? And they'll say, sure do. And they'll slide it across the table. And when we look at it, it's basically a copy of their investment portfolio. Now, that's part of a plan. That's a piece of a plan, but that's not the whole plan. And here's the other sad part of that, is that 9 times out of 10, Jonathan and I can look at the name on the statements, and we can already tell how that portfolio is allocated, because many of these firms really take a cookie cutter approach. And we just think that's a huge disservice to you folks out there, because it doesn't take what's important to you into consideration. And so you folks need a plan. You're going to need a plan to guide you through the many crises that we'll go through on this earth. I mean, we've gone through, and we're still in this crisis of the pandemic, of the coronavirus. And, we've never seen anything like this. And the reality is that there'll be other crises that come along, and you're going to have a good plan to see you through. Here's what's also important that I would tell you, is that you need to have a relationship with someone. In other words, unless you're someone who is, maybe an economics major and finance major and master, and you understand all the facets of building a financial plan around income and investments and taxes and healthcare and estate planning, and you have the time to do it. Unless you're that individual, then you're going to need to be working with someone that you can trust, someone that is going to have your best interest in mind, to help guide you through and walk you through when we go through a crisis like what we've been going through. And so, when you're looking for an advisor out there, here's some criteria that I would have you think about. You need to be working with someone who is an independent, meaning that they're not married to any one particular company. They can go out and bring any financial tool that you need to the table. The other thing is that you need to be working with a fiduciary, someone that has your best interest in mind. You see, a fiduciary, they take a personal oath that whatever recommendations that they make to you, that they're going to be there to back those up. If there's ever any question, they're going to be there to back those up and walk you through that whole process. And so that is really, really important. You want an advisor who has skin in the game, because, at our company at Keystone, that was really important to us. We wanted to be able to say, you know what, we don't want to be biased to some of these products out there. We want to be able to build these plans with whatever tool that we need, and then being that fiduciary. We've got the licenses, we've done the things that we've needed to, because that's important to us, because we're going to stand behind the plans that we help families build. And so for you ladies, make sure, unless you're doing it on your own and you're a pro, that you find someone who is independent, who's a fiduciary. And then the third thing is, make sure they're a good listener, that they're going to hear you and what you need and what's important to you, and that they're going to help you build a plan that's going to help you enjoy the best days of your life. Because really, your retirement should be the best days of your life. And so I just wanted to get that out of the way before we really get into the meat. Today, we're going to talk about dreams, which is my favorite part. The first, I guess the last few weeks, we've talked about these 3 baskets. And the first one, let me go to share the screen here. Some of these screens here are basically just saying, let me go back to that, just saying, hey, this material is just for your purposes only. We're not selling anything. We're not making any recommendations at all. So that's all those are saying there. But we started talking about the 3 baskets of retirement a few weeks ago. And I spent some time a couple weeks ago talking about the security basket. And in that security basket, that's your what if basket, right? That's like, if things happen that we're not expecting, you've got to be prepared, and you make sure that you have the right things in the basket. We've all heard that, hey, we don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. And that's true. But the good news is that you only need 3. And the first one being the security basket. Then last week, Jonathan talked to you about the retirement basket. And there was a lot that went into the retirement basket. But it's so important that you've got that income plan in place, that you deal with taxes. But the biggest part of your retirement is going to be your income plan. So we talked about that. And then today, I'm going to have some fun talking about dreams, because at the end of the day, this is what's really important, is that, let me pull here and see if I'm having a little more challenges with this technology. But anyway, so we're talking about the dreams basket. And, when you're looking at that, it's like, what, this is what your retirement should be about. Retirement is really about, and money in your retirement is really a tool to help you, accomplish the things that you really want to do in your life. And so many times we see people, when they come in, the main thing of what's been talked about with their money is just about, hey, do I have enough? And there's never a lot of time spent around developing that bucket list, identifying with your values and what's important to you, and making sure that you're using that money. And so, all of us, we all have dreams and things that we want to do in our life and with our money. And so the key is to make sure that your money's working for you, so that you can spend time doing the things that you really want to do. It's a sad thing when I see families, and Jonathan and I see families come in, and they've got all this money accumulated, but they're not enjoying it. They're not using it. They're living in this place many times, of this place of fear of, oh my gosh, can I even go and spend this money? Can I use it to do the things that I want to do? And for us at Keystone, it's all about helping you get the results that your money can provide to you, so that you can live your best retirement. Now, let me go to the next screen here. Let me see if it's David Bach. We've referred to him in Smart Women Finish Rich. Love this guy. He said, retirement can and should be the best years of your life. You've worked hard, and you deserve to enjoy your savings. And that's so true. And so many times, again, I see people that, and Jonathan too, that really never make it to this place in their life. And that's really a sad state of affairs for us. One of the things that we talk about as we're having this conversation about our dreams and the things that you want to do, whether that's a bucket list or things that you want to do with your family, we talk about this concept of ROI versus ROR. Now, ROI equals return on your investment. Now, many times when you're meeting with an advisor, unfortunately, that's where the conversations stop. They talk about you earning a 4 to 5 to 6 or 8% rate of return. And we actually think that's pretty sad, and that does a disservice to you, because returns are meaningless if the money is not being used to improve the quality of your life. If you're not thinking about, hey, what's this money going to do for me? How can I use this? Because you've worked so hard, then that's a sad state of affairs. And unfortunately, we see that over and over and over. I tell a story in one of the previous webinars that I did about a client of mine named Betty. And when I met her, her husband was already sick. And she told me, she said, Glenn, our whole life, she said, we had planned on when Harold retired, that we were going to travel. We had all these things that we wanted to go do, but then unfortunately he got sick. Now, and so he'd been sick for about, when I met her, he'd been sick for several years, and then he passed away. Well, we were sitting down and going through the review, and I said, Betty, I said, you were talking about the dreams. I know that you've been here taking care of your husband, but he's been gone a few years. And, we need to talk about what you want to do with this money. And she said, Glenn, I just don't think I can. And I said, well, what do you mean you don't think you can? She says, well, I don't know if I've got enough money to do what I want to do. And I want to travel with the kids. I want to do some vacations. And so we got to looking in her portfolios, and she actually had some accounts that were at the bank, and she was earning, she had a CD that was paying like 5%. And she'd been working with that banker for a while, so she had left that money there, and we were fine with that. But the banker never called her and said anything to her about, hey, what's the purpose of this money? He would only call when it was time to renew it. And I says, well, Betty, you got $500,000 here, and it's paying, she was pulling a required minimum distribution from her IRAs, but this was not an IRA. And I said, it's 5%, that's $25,000 a year. I mean, what kind of trip do you want to go on? She says, well, I'd like to be able to take my daughter and my grandkids on a cruise. I says, well, Betty, you've got the money here. And so she did some research, and she said, you know what, this trip's going to cost me about 10 grand. I said, Betty, you've got the money just in the CDs. And so from that point forward, it clicked with her. I always had a hard time getting her to break free from that fear of, hey, I can't spend this money. But I kept after it, and I kept after it. And finally she was like, you know what, you're right. I got to do this. So we created a 5-year travel budget for her, and she began to travel. And the highlight of our meetings were looking at pictures and hearing stories about what her and her grandkids were able to do. And she did that for a little over 5 years. And then in about the 7th year, she passed away. So, again, how sad it would have been had she just sat there and never done anything because she was afraid and she didn't think that she could. And the other part to me, it's like the advisor, thank goodness I was there to ask those questions, because the banker advisor never even called her to talk about what this money was for, what she wanted to do with it. He would only call her when it was time to renew it based on the interest rate. And so many times that's where the conversation stops. And like at Keystone, with Jonathan and myself and our entire team, what's important to us is that we take this conversation to a completely different level. In other words, we want to elevate that conversation, and we want to talk about return on your retirement, not just return on your investment, but return on your environment, because on your retirement, because what that means is that you get the best return possible on the best years of your life. And that's what's important to us, is making sure that you're using your money to improve the quality of your life. And making these plans and hitting the bucket list and traveling and doing the things that you want to do are so important. We tell our clients, look, you need to start living now. Don't wait a 5 years or a decade. You need to start when they're in retirement, and even before retirement. If they can start doing some traveling and using their money, we want to make sure that each dollar has a clear and specific purpose of what it's going to do to improve the quality of your life. On one of the webinar episodes that we did, I talked about values and building that value ladder. And if you remember, the values really have to deal with those intrinsic values, the things that you can't buy. It's so important to build your plan around those type things and allow this money to work. Yes, it needs to grow, so rate of return is important, but it's just a means to an end. It's like we want to design this for the growth so that you can use it for the betterment and quality of your retirement years. It's so important, and we see so many times that people don't take the time to do that. I'll tell you another story. But before I do, let's see here. Well, actually, there's a, hang on just a second. There's a slide that I want to talk about, and I don't see it on the screen. So hang on just a second. I'm going to stop sharing the screen for just a second. I'm going to come back to it because it's really important. Hang on just a second. But I want to talk about these 3 stages of retirement. You've got the go-go years, which is age 60 to 75. And, these are really what we would call the best years of your life in your retirement in this first stage. Why? Because 1, you've got time. You now have the freedom of time to do what you want to do when you want to do it. The second thing that makes this time so valuable is that typically you'll have your health. You still are able to get out and go do things. You're not going to the doctor as much. That'll come later. And so you've got the energy that you desire to get out and do the things that you want to do. And then the third thing are the grandkids. Hopefully they're still young enough where they still want to do something with you. Many times in this phase they are, because we all know that when they get a certain age, they don't want to do everything with us. So these go-go years, or this first decade, tends to be just the best days. Then the next decade are what we call the slow-go years. And the slow-go years are from 75 to 85. And it's like we say, like it says, things tend to slow down at this point. Now, not always, but we tend to, maybe we start going to the doctor more. But again, things begin to slow down from 75 to 85. And then we move into what's called the won't go years. And typically that's the fellas that won't go, right? But this is a time where, your health issues are more acute. You're going to funerals, and you just don't have the energy or the stamina to go and do what you used to could do. Now, that's not always the case. I had a conversation with my Nana today. Nana was a huge impact in my life into becoming an advisor. They owned and operated a farm, and I grew up there. And when Pa got sick and passed away, it devastated Nana. But then she began to build and put her life back together. She didn't, she told me back then, she said, retirement planning was something I thought we'd always do, but we never got around to it. And so we just kept farming. But I watched her get stronger and begin to get her feet under and develop a plan. Well, today she's remarried. That was almost 10 years ago when Pa passed away. And I spoke to her this morning. She's 79 years old. And I said, Nana, what are you up to? And she said, well, Ron and I are getting ready to go camping for 3 days. They've got a camper. They've got friends that they're going to be with. They're being safe, but they're just not sitting around. And so it doesn't mean necessarily that you have to slow down, but many times people do. And the reason I tell you that story is because this is really, really important for us, that we help our clients use their money to improve the quality of their life and make sure that you're not just sitting around. You're not fearful that you're going to run out. Because see, when you have a well-written plan that's customized to fit you, then you don't have to worry about that. And we see it over and over and over again. And so Jonathan and I, again, are so passionate about making sure that, you've got that written plan and that those baskets are filled the way that they need to be filled, with your security basket, the retirement, and then your dreams basket. All those things are so important for you folks to be able to enjoy, these best days of your life. Now, let me see if I can get us back to that other screen. So here we were talking about the ROI versus the ROR. And, when you move into retirement, ladies, this mountain is a great metaphor and of what it means to make it to retirement. In other words, you've got the climb up to get to the top, which is where you're headed. But then the descent is when you move into retirement. The most dangerous part of climbing a mountain is what? It's the descent. More accidents happen on the descent than any other place. And so it's important that you've got a plan. And with that plan at Keystone, we have what's called the financial roadmap. And, in that process, I promise you, understanding this will make all the difference in the world. And when we build a financial plan, ladies, it really should encompass these 5 areas, because there's a lot that goes into this, helping you understand, your Social Security and when to draw that, the investment planning, the tax planning. That's why we have attorneys that work in our office for estate planning. We have CPAs that work with our clients. We have healthcare specialists that work with our clients, because it takes a team of people. Jonathan and I, we're good at what we do. I promise you I'm better as an advisor than I am on technology. I promise you that, than I am, specifically on Zoom. But at the end of the day, we're really, really good at what we do in terms of building a plan, but it takes a whole team. And if you don't have that, ladies, let me encourage you. Pick up the phone and call the office, 615-661-9554, 615-661-9554. Schedule a 15-minute phone call, and we'll talk to you. We'll answer any questions that you have and see if there's anything that we can do to help, because it's so important that you take the time to develop that. So, ladies, today is a short meeting, and again, the Dreams Basket, that's a ton of fun. The work that goes in on the front end to get everything lined up is so important. And when those things are laid out, then it makes the rest of your planning a piece of cake. It really does. So again, I apologize for the technology issues. We may even try to re-record this because I had so many problems. I'm not sure if what cut off and what didn't cut off. But if so, then we'll do it again. If it didn't record all the way through. All right. But I hope you ladies have a great day. And if we can help you, then again, call us at 615-661-9554, or you can check us out at www.keystonefinancialresources.com. Have a good day.